Welcome to the Coach Bill Neese Show. I am Chip Harry, your host, and with me is Coach Bill Neese, and we are on the wrap-up of the 2015 season. Hard to believe just seemed just a few weeks ago you and I were standing outside getting ready to preview the season, and it goes pretty quick, Coach.
It does, definitely goes pretty quick, and it's one of those 7-day cycles, and you just start into that. When you get into August, almost 7 day, and next thing you know, you don't even have time to think about it because you're into the next 7 days, and man, it goes quickly.
Gets to a routine, and we will talk a little bit about how the season ended before we get in, and then we'll go and we will talk about the great season that it was. Unfortunately, the Indians fall in Week 11 in the playoffs to Tip City by a score of 37-12, and certainly Coach was disappointing in a lot of ways, but there was a few upsides to the game as well.
I think so, and I think any time that you're going to be fortunate enough to get in the playoffs, the big thing you've got to understand is there's only going to be one team that's happy. You know, winning is rare. Actually, winning is fairly unusual, and you don't think about that till you actually get in the playoffs, and then you realize that of all the teams that were happy that week, you know, we get to play Week 11, and there was high schools all over, you know, celebrating. The end result is there's only going to be 7 of them that are going to be happy about anything, and the rest of them are going to use. And usually it's a pretty rough loss, and it's something that sticks with you for a while. Go back and watch the films over, think of things you could do differently and things like that. So yeah, it's a little bittersweet both ways. Tip City,
a team that we will see in the league in the next few years, certainly. It was an interesting situation. You and I were talking about this on Friday. We had played them Friday. We had played there since 1985, 30 years. And you fast forward to where we are now, and now they will be back in the league. And for them, they will see a difference. They'll see a difference in competition, first of all, and then second of all, they'll see a difference in the fact that when you're in the GWalk, you're seeing a difference in competition, which we just talked about, but they're also going to see teams that they're going to probably potentially face in the playoffs because you've got a lot of Division III schools in our division. Yeah, and the biggest thing about the GWalk is man, it's cliche, but it's true. As soon as you get into it, you realize it. But the teams that you see in the playoffs, caliber type teams, you see them on your regular schedule on a weekly basis. And they might be in a different classification. For us, there's some 1s, there's some 2s, but you're going to see some people out there. We got an opportunity on our schedule to be able to, I think, have 2 teams on our schedule that are currently still into into the second week of the season, and a couple of teams make it to the playoffs. So, overall, I thought our league, our schedule was well represented. Let's go back and review just quickly about the season, and if we look back at Week 1, I don't know that when we scheduled Week 1, a couple years ago, we thought how much St. John's really propelled us, but that game gave us a big win, and they gave us a lot of computer points as the year went along. That was kind of like, when you get into the playoffs, you always have your league points. You're going to have those, and you always have to have like that not secret, but that one bell cow, that one team that's going to win for you consistently. Those guys did a great job. And so that kind of gave us that propulsion. I think the year before we were close to the playoffs because Urbana continued to win for us, but that just wasn't quite enough. We didn't win enough football games the year before. But I think, St. John's starting off up there, great atmosphere, and then, we came back down here and we just got things rolling. Yeah, as we go up to, you talk about getting on a bus, and that was fun, and Noah Lyman had his career day. We hold on in the second half to get the win, keeps the momentum against. And at the time, we knew they were a good football team. I don't think we realized how good they were really going to be because they had defeated some good teams. So we come back the next week, we take care of Urbana fairly well, and we run into a game again. You look at that Lima senior game, it goes into double overtime, a play here or there. Things could change, but we certainly showed that we can. I think that game showed our kids, hey, we belong and we're a playoff contention team. Yeah, definitely. I think that helped our confidence quite a bit. The fact we went into double overtime and we're close enough in double overtime to say, hey, we could have won that game, but you don't. You didn't, but I think that did help us then as we went through the rest of the schedule to be able to say, well, we can, speed-wise, we can match up with anybody. I think that's a big difference. Should be noted that Lima Senior went down to Miamisburg and got the win in a playoff game, and so they're in round 2. So again, goes to show the quality of schedule that the Indians played in the preseason. We move now into the G-Walk, and we tripped up a little bit against Northmont in a game where I'm sure we had our druthers. We'd like to have that one back. But Coach, we bounced right back up and came home and played a solid Fairborn, a very well coached Fairborn team. And so at the halfway mark, we're in good shape at 3-2.
Yeah, and as we finished off the first half of that year, again, the amazing thing about the Lima Senior score is that they went down to their first playoff game, and the exact same scenario happened. They scored in the second overtime. They scored, went for 2, got it. Miamisburg scored, went for 2, and missed it. So it was almost a carbon copy of what we did. And the Fairborn deal, until you coach against them, you really have no sense of believing anything I may say, because Fairborn you're going to look at Fairborn, you're going to say this guy's crazy. They're 1-9, but if you look at every one of their scores is close, and they're 2-3 plays away. And they always are, and they just don't. They get those years where they have those quality kids, but it just somehow an injury here, an injury there, and it messes them up. But I really felt good at that point. We really wanted that. If we're looking at it, we could have been 5-0 because of the Lima Senior score, and obviously Northmont. That is one of those ones where you just want to say, hey, press rewind on that one, because there's a couple things we need to do a little differently. But unfortunately, they don't allow you to do that except in video games.
Well, in 3-2, we're sitting at, and we think probably we could be 4-1, maybe like you said, even 5-0. But our kids are believing. But we are going in division play at that point in time, and that's when things really get interesting throughout the year. The journey probably took a couple different twists and turns that I think you and I maybe thought we were going to run into. We run into Butler, not knowing that they were probably going to. I don't know that anybody had them on the radar to win the division, although we knew they were a well-coached team and a good team. Mm-hmm. We ended up losing that one 28-21, which there was a lot of scoring early on in that game. In the second half, we had some short faults on the line that we shored up as the season went along. But that was another game that we looked at after that game, and I think a lot of us just felt like that one got away from us.
I think it did. I think that was a game where it had the rain and the wind and everything. And I don't know, if you listen to one person tell me, I didn't factor the wind enough. If you listen to somebody else tell me I factored it too much. The fact remains we allowed them to return a kickoff for a touchdown, which was a little unusual for us. And the thing about the Vadea game is it just started almost a complete roller coaster of up and down, where we went from some extreme highs toward the end of the year. I mean, when you think about it, you're looking at, we went over to Greenville and had a big win over Greenville. We went down to Trotwood, had a huge win against Trotwood. And we went to Troy and had a huge win against the Trojans, got us in the playoffs. So the last half of the season, it was like 3 road wins that were just fantastic. Then we would come home and do something very uncharacteristic of ourselves and go back down into those depths and have to pull ourselves back up again. And it was just, back and forth, back and forth. It was probably, I think the best way I can describe it, and to our team also, it was probably the funnest 2 weeks of my life and the worst 2 weeks of my life. And unfortunately, they were interlaced together every other week. But it was crazy.
It was a fun ride, Coach. And you talked about the Trotwood game, and that was a game where, you go to Greenville, that's a tough place to play. They have had our number through the years, and no matter how good our team has been, and we go over there and, Coach, we just roll all over them and by a big score. We go to Wyndham, we go to Trotwood, and again, everybody knows what Trotwood's been, and we hadn't won there since 2007. Ironically, that's the last time we made the playoffs. We get it done in a great fashion, and there's that roller coaster ride again. We come back to what we thought was probably the week that ended our playoff run, and then the exhilaration happened again with a great win over Troy. And I think for me, as I look at it, and I had this conversation just last week with a couple people that were at the rally. When we came back downtown from Troy and we had the rally at the gazebo, and that's when we found out that our Indians had made the playoffs, and genuinely found out as the kids were on the gazebo, that was a genuine moment that people there was a woman last night that said to me, I don't know anything about football, but I just knew there was a great amount of energy and enthusiasm that I'll never forget about. And so those are the kind of impacts you make on your community. When your football team wins, people get excited. And certainly that was the case here for the 2015 campaign. Anytime you go to Troy and win, it's good. When you can win by the way we did and then come back and find out we make the playoffs, that's it's, I suppose, not very much in time in life you get to eat your cake or have your cake and eat it too, and we did that night.
You did. And you know, the thing also is that when you're dealing with high school kids and you're dealing with a group of people that hadn't been to playoffs in a while, you can't, it's hard to sit back and say, hey, don't get too excited about this, because we got a game next week. No, we got to start focusing on next week. You got to let these guys have fun. You got to let the community have fun. Now, I'm sitting back at the gazebo the entire time, figuring out, a lot of other things and so forth and so on. But I think as a coach, you got to make sure those guys get out there and enjoy them, because the years you don't get too many of them, you think back and say, man, we should have, enjoyed it a little bit more. And so I think one of the things we've learned this year is we want to enjoy what we're doing. And we want to make sure we're having fun about it, but we want to just make sure we get to the point where we're going to do it more.
Getting into that habit.
I think it'd be fun if we just kind of give them a little bit of an insight. People see as a gazebo, what they see is that at the stadium. What they don't see is what goes on behind stage and behind the scenes. Saturday night I called you at 9 o'clock and said, hey, what's the score? Because the Belmont Dunbar game really had a lot riding on who we were going to play. It was either going to be Wapak or Tip, and you and I go back in 3 and 4 conversations trying to figure out who's playing, and there was a false report that there was a score out there that wasn't correct.
Right.
And we ended up finding our good friends down at the Dayton Daily News ended up getting the right information for us. So, but all that, in the meantime, you're looking at 2 tapes. You're looking at Wapak, you're looking at Tip, because we don't know who we're going to play, and there's a lot of energy and a lot of excitement about that, but at the same point in time, it can drive you nuts.
Yeah, it can, but it's a fun type of deal.
Yeah.
The good thing for me is while everybody else was running around, didn't know what to do, at least I had some tape to look at. So I was doing some busy work, so to speak, and I was able to do some other stuff. Some of the other coaches were here, so we were able to at least gather up a little information and I know all the rest of the other coaches, and we weren't the only ones, because everybody else was kind of thinking there was about 4 teams involved. And everybody's thinking in their minds, well, let's get this phone number, and see if we can get this tape thing situated quickly.
2015 will certainly be a year of a lot of memories for a lot of people. There's only, if you're in the playoffs, there's only 7 teams in the state of Ohio that gets to finish with a win. Certainly this was a ride that we wish we could have gone a little bit longer. But it really is a statement for our kids. Let's talk a little bit about our seniors. What a way for them to go out. Great kids, great character. A lot of kids that we've got to talk to on the show, and we got to know who they are. What does that mean for them, Coach? I mean, they were there 4 years where they didn't get to the playoffs, but they got 4 years where they beat Troy and they get to week 11. That's got to mean something.
It does. And that group 4 years ago that was the first senior class to break the streak against Troy, every time I see one of them, they remind me. They say, okay, remember, Coach, we got it started. We got it started. And I can, sometimes you think back, well, who was the starting left guard in 2003 or whatever the case may be. But I know who those guys. I know that senior class. I know exactly who that senior class was that did that. And now I'm definitely going to remember this senior class. And obviously we've been close with that senior class. A lot of 3-year starters. My son Alex in that senior class. So it was important that that all that stuff be remembered. But I'm happy for him that he was able to be part of that whole deal.
The Indians finished their campaign at 6-5 for the first time since 2007. The Indians get to the playoffs. As we just look briefly ahead, obviously we graduate a lot of seniors, but we have a lot of kids coming back next year. The Indians should be in good shape yet for another 2016 campaign.
We've got we've got the interior of our offense back. We've got both of our running backs, and we've got some receivers back, and then of course we've got our 2 guards. Both of our guards were all conference, so we're pleased with that. Defensively, we've got all 4 defensive linemen back. 3 of the 4 defensive linemen were first-team All-Leaguers. We've got all 3 of the 4 linebackers back, and 1, 2, 3. all four of the linebackers were all conference. We're going to lose, obviously, Jarrett Toops. And then we lost our 2 corners, and we'll have a returning all-conference safety coming back. So we have a great nucleus, and I know we got some good kids that are going to get in the weight room, and everybody knows those 3 or 4 starting spots. They got it ready to go. I mean, those kids that are competing, I just talked to a kid today, and he said, hey, I'm ready to roll. It's between me and so-and-so and so-and-so. We already know it. So they got that 1 inside linebacker spots open. We've got a center spot open. We've got 2 offensive tackles open. We've got a quarterback spot open. So we got some things going on.
The good news for those guys is those guys that are coming back, they get a little time off, but when first of the year rolls around, you guys will be hanging and banging in the weight room again, and the season doesn't start again, and we talked about that. It doesn't start in August. It starts, they'll get a little time off here, and they'll start right back in January.
Well, a lot of them, we came in Monday, we came into the weight room Monday, and everybody was kind of just, hey, Coach, sorry if you take a little time off, which I go through the same song every year. I already know it's happening. I go, before they even said, I go, hey, let's take some time off. You guys just sit down, catch up with the books, relax. Today's Tuesday. Probably 80% of them were in the weight room lifting already. And
they're anxious.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's one of those things. I think it's nice sometimes. I think a lot of them just enjoy the lifting, enjoy being physically in shape and stuff like that. I don't think anybody's volunteering to do plyometrics or run yet. I think they just enjoy a little bit of curl, a little bit of bench pressing, just those look good muscles. But
sure.
I think everything else they'll wait until January.
Let's talk real briefly about the 2016 campaign. The schedule will be different a little bit, both on our schedule for GWalk and then our preseason games. And we will have 3 completely new teams that the Indians will face in week 1, weeks 2, and week 3. Dayton Meadowdale will come. We will go to Trotwood, and then the third one we will take on Franklin, which is new. And Franklin is our region. Obviously, Trotwood is too in Division III. Some new mixtures, some new looks, but yet people that we've seen before.
Yeah. And then we've got Xenia, who we've scrimmaged a lot. They're going to be rolling in, and then West Carrollton, everybody remembers them from back in the old days. And of course, you make sure you remind everybody who we finish off now with next year. The games 9 and 10.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's referring to Tip City on week 9 and Troy on week 10. Don't think that these guys don't think about that stuff, because you do. And we may kind of make joke about that. Trotwood has moved, and they will be in the sister division. Those 2 games that we have weeks 4 and 5, it used to be that we would play crossover games, and it could be anybody. Like last 2 years ago was Beaver Creek and Springboro, and the idea is, and this year we had Northmont and Fairborn. So the idea was that we're going to now have like-sized schools that we're going to play with in our crossover games. So this year it's Xenia and West Carrollton for 2 years, and it'll rotate. And it could be Fairborn, it could be Trotwood, or it could be Stebbins, who will be new in the league. So we'll get those rotations later. And then we roll right into Sydney in week 6, and we go to Greenville and Van Day and Greenville, and then of course Tip and Troy. Weeks 9 and 10 will be home. We talk a lot about that last game. Week 10, a lot of schools, high schools, play that rival on week 10. Wayne and Centerville do it. Mass and McKinley do it. You're seeing a lot more St. Ed, St. Ignatius. It's kind of a build-up to that week 10, isn't it, Coach?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it gives you a lot of enthusiasm going in. I also think it's a deal where it's dangerous, because if you're having a good year and that other guy may not be having a good year, they still got a heck of a lot of motivation. It's that throw out the record books. This is our 1-game season. This can make up for a lot of things. And so it's also a little dangerous, but it's fun.
Well, the oldest rivalry in the state, Great American Rivalry, has said that they are hopefully and looking forward to coming back another year, and we'll know that more later this summer. And if you don't think that this is important, Ryan, if he's got the camera, I'm sure he will get the digital. It's on there, 354 days, 4 hours, 7 minutes, and 24 seconds left until the Indians get it on with the Trojans again. So again, we don't sit back and think about it just when football season comes. It's all year.
It is. It's all year, and it's a full-time commitment for these guys, and they do a great job. And distributing their time, because they've also got schoolwork they've got to take care of. They've got stuff at home. They've got, a lot of them have jobs, and a lot of these guys are, doing some other things. But we ask them to make a little bit of a commitment every day, just like anything else. And if you do use your time wisely within the year, then you should be ready to play.
Coach, as we wrap up this show, a lot of people, we talk about, we try to give people an idea of what it goes on in the life of our football team, but our coaches. I'm here all throughout the year, so I see you. Your car is parked out front in December, and I know you've been known to come in on Christmas Day. I'm sure that's Gerald Collier reminds me of that every now and then. Hey, is Coach Neese still coming on Christmas Day? But all joking aside, Coach, you're already thinking about what we're doing next year and the preparations of that.
Well, we've got, right off the bat, as soon as the season ends, it's funny you said that, because as soon as the season ends, everybody says, well, what do you do now? You get all this free time on your hands. And well, as soon as the season ends, number one, it takes almost 6 days to inventory this entire process. Inventory, helmet, shoulder pad, get the junior high, get the freshman, and our assistant coaches do a great job with that. That's priority number one. Priority number two, you got to get the banquet ready to go. Within that doesn't take a huge amount of time, but still you have to get the different things. There's certain traditions here at Piqua that need to be met, so we have to do that. And then within probably, I'd say 3 or 4 days from now, recruiting starts. So I have to have stuff ready for when the colleges come. I got to get our current seniors where they want to be, or hopefully we'll get them in a spot. And in the meantime, colleges will be coming in also for our current juniors and our current sophomores. So that starts the process. So we have to have those films ready. We have to have phone numbers, handouts, and everything like that ready to go. So as soon as, by the time the smoke clears there, then it's time to get back into the weight room in January, start the process all over again, and then do a couple more college recruiting cycles. Get to some clinics and see if we can, get ourselves a little smarter, get an edge one way or the other, and then next thing you know, it's summer.
Well, and if people think that as soon as the season's over with, you're off to the beach and with your beverages to the side, that's not the case, because we as you are programmed, we've got our coaches program and our kids program. We're waiting on for the next thing. But so, Coach, thank you for a great season. Thank you for being a part, again, of making this show extra special for us.
No problem. Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that will conclude the 2015 Bill Neese Coaches Show and the Piqua Indians football season. We are looking forward to another exciting year next year for the 2016 campaign. We will look forward to seeing you in the fall, or when we get closer to that point. We thank our sponsors for all of their time, and we thank them for their resources, and so we can make WOTVC one of the best local access stations in not only the state of Ohio, but in the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Chip Hare. Final time with Bill, Coach Neese. Thank you again.